Let's have a look at a freshers flow rule. Sign into the app here. And we'll go to configure scenarios. So we've got no scenarios created. Create a new scenario. So this is going to be my first scenario. I can describe it showing flow rules. Now what we've got represented across here is our global settings that relate to the partial success. We'll cover those in another video. And then the local settings, and this represents the system that we've got set up. So if you saw a previous video about the system setup, we described how to represent that. So this is represented by regions, catchments, subcatchments, and then reporting sites that have flow data associated with them, and the prevailing climate. So we go back to our scenario that we're looking at now. So we've got that system set up here, and we can add a flow rule related to our region, our catchment, and then our subcatchment. And we're going to add for this reporting site, which is reach 5 in the Latrobe. We've got this underlying data associated with it, and we want to add a discharge flow rule. So we're going to add a discharge flow rule, and let's call it freshers. That's good. Now if I click on that, I can expand and see the parameters associated with the flow rule. So it's a freshers flow rule, and let's say that we want this thing to go from maybe the 1st of June to, let's say, the end of November. So the 30th of November. And the return period, default is set at 1. So we're trying to achieve this rule each and every year. If we set that return period to say 2, what it would do is it would look at it for 2 years separately, and it would report the best of those 2 years. So it's effectively a moving average or a moving best case of the number of return period years that we're considering here. What you'll see as well at the top of the flow rule is a reporting tier. So the default tier is level 1, so we've got 4 levels of reporting here. So the idea here is, and this will help with the being able to summarize the output. Level 1 might be, this is a critical flow rule we must achieve all the time. This is a level 2, might be things that we'd aspire to achieve in most years, and then you might get up to level 4, which might be a sort of aspirational flow rule you don't expect to meet by delivering environmental water, like an overbank flow, but you want to report the performance against that as well. So a flow rule can occur in any one or more of these underlying levels. Oh, expand that back out again. Now we get to set the parameters associated with that, and we set that. Well, we can describe what the purpose of this freshers to let's say it's allow fish movement. Give us some context when we download the results. We know what this is all about. Then we set the underlying parameters, and we set that for each of 5 prevailing climatic conditions through from drought, very dry, dry, average, and wet. So let's say in a drought year, let's say our freshers target that we're after is, let's say it's 2,200 megalitres a day. We'd like it to go for just a single day. Maybe we want 2 of those events, and we'd like them to be at least 7 days apart. Then we might go into the very dry. We're still after the same total. We might pretty much, let's say, the same conditions, and then we'd get to dry, same overall, 1 day, 2 events, 7 days. And now we're getting into the wetter conditions. Might be still after the same magnitude, but we might want it to go for 2 days. We might want 3 of these events in this case that are at least 7 days apart. And in a wet year, we're really hoping for some serious recruitment going on here. We want some decent events that might go for 4 days, like 3 of them that are 7 days apart. And that's it. We've defined a freshers flow rule. We can save that. And what we can also actually set is the partial success parameters that apply to this specific flow rule. Now we'll have another video coming up on how the partial success works, but in this default setup here, we've just got effectively a linear success from 0 up to 100 for everything. That's unlikely to be the case that you'd apply. But for that flow rule, let's have a look at how that might run. And if I look in my scenario library, I've got a new scenario here, and I've got a results tab here, and I can explore that. It's at the Gippsland region, Latrobe catchment, Latrobe River subcatchment, reach 5, and that's our freshers flow rule. And in fact, that freshers flow rule for that year that we looked at, we got 100% success through each of our magnitude, duration, count, independence, and then the overall score of 100%. So that's the freshers flow rule.